Hi there, my friends. My name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch and to my kitchen, where we are going to put together 4 recipes that are both cheap, easy to put together, but they're also a little bit fancy, so they taste really delicious and like they cost more than they do, that's for sure. All of these recipes will be available over on my blog within the next couple of days, potentially before this video comes out, but likely within the next couple of days. So it might be a good idea to grab a pen and paper so that you can jot down the recipes and the measurements as we go through each one. All right, so the recipes that we're going to do today are chickpea and spinach curry, creamy garlic pasta with peas and Parmesan, baked sweet potato and black bean burrito bowls, and herbed lentil patties with garlic yogurt sauce. So these sound a little fancy, but just take my word for it. They're super easy to put together and they're also really good for you. All of these recipes do happen to be vegetarian recipes outside of, depending on what kind of vegetarian you are, there's a little bit of yogurt, but you could always use a coconut-based yogurt. That would actually work really well for this recipe because it is a lentil recipe, so adding a little bit of that coconut flavor would probably taste really good with it. You could also add meat into these, and I'll give you some variations on these recipes as we go through them. The first recipe that we're going to make is a chickpea spinach coconut curry. I actually don't have any spinach right now, so I think I'm probably going to add some frozen peas to this recipe. All these recipes can be altered and adjusted to suit your tastes or what you have available in your pantry. One of the things that's awesome about all of these recipes that I'm going to share with you, except potentially the pasta one, is that they all freeze beautifully. So definitely consider doubling them and freezing them for future meals. Your future self will definitely thank you for that. So let me run through the ingredients that we need for this chickpea curry. We need some chickpeas, of course, and these are home canned chickpeas. I do keep dried chickpeas down in my pantry, but I really like the convenience of having them already canned so that I can just open up the jar and use them right away. We're going to need some coconut milk. We are going to need some diced tomatoes, and I know this might come as a bit of a shock if you saw how many tomatoes that I canned this past summer. I think I canned 250 jars of tomato products. I'm actually out of diced tomatoes right now, which I just can't believe. So when we went to Costco last week, we did buy some organic diced tomatoes. So we're going to use that in this recipe. We need some onion and lemon, or you can use lemon juice if you don't have fresh lemon. We need some curry powder and some onion powder. We need some chopped garlic, and I already have the garlic chopped over here. We also need some rice, which I already have cooked back on the stove behind me here. And we also need that for a second recipe as well. So I did make, I think, around 6 cups of rice ready to go. And then salt and pepper to taste. Alrighty, friends, we need to get out my goggles, my onion cutting goggles, because we need to chop up an onion. Like I said, I already have the garlic done here. All right, I am going to just chop up the second onion that I need for the lentil recipe that we're going to make over there, so that way I can be done chopping onions. I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil, onion, and we'll let this fry up a little bit, and then we'll add our garlic to it. Garlic cooks a lot faster than onion, so I always fry my onion first. We're going to add a little bit of ginger to this, around half a teaspoon or so. And the same with curry powder, so you can add as much curry as you like to this recipe, depending on what you like for flavor. You could add some cumin to this as well. And while we're waiting for that to fry up, we are going to rinse off our chickpeas in the sink. Add a couple cloves of garlic and a little more butter, I think. So if you're interested in plant-based recipes, this one is a good one. Outside of the butter, of course. You could use coconut oil or olive oil in place of the butter. And because we're going to be adding the chickpeas in there, we have lots of good protein in this recipe. And it's also dairy-free because we're going to be using the coconut oil instead of cream, although you could use cream if you like. All right, now we are going to add our diced tomatoes to this. And I'm going to add it with the juice as well. One of the things that I always do when I am going to open up a store or a store-bought can is I wipe off the top, because when you are putting this can opener on and you're turning it, you're actually pushing down whatever might potentially be on the lid into your food. So always give that a little bit of a wipe off. Okay, it's 1.5 cups or so of chickpeas. I'm just going to add the whole entire quart there because that's what I have. Don't want them to go to waste. Okay, I'm going to add some frozen peas to this as well because I don't have the spinach. So this recipe also calls for a couple of cups of spinach. I'm going to add these peas just to give it a little bit of color, different color to it as well. And then of course the flavor of the peas. That many. Okay, we're gonna let this simmer for around 10 minutes. So I'm gonna add a squeeze of lemon juice to this just to brighten the flavor a little bit. Now we're going to add our coconut milk. Pinch of salt, and some black pepper. Easy as that. That came together in around 10 minutes or so. And then I have the rice already cooked over here, so we'll be putting this on some rice. So there we go. Meal 1 is complete. Now we're going to move on to our creamy Parmesan pasta that we're going to make, and we're basically going to start this one the same way we did the other one. We're going to put some olive oil in the pan, a little butter, and our onion, and again we'll save our garlic and add that when this is cooked a bit. Some water for our pasta. We're going to use some Rotini today, but you can use whatever kind of pasta you prefer. Garlic, and this is just a, whoops, this is just a couple cloves of garlic. I am just making a mess. So 1.5 cups of frozen peas. I am going to grate a little Parmesan cheese for this recipe. We need 1/2 cup of our Parmesan here. You could go dairy-free with this if you like and add some nutritional yeast instead of the Parmesan. It'll still give you that kind of creamy, cheesy flavor without the dairy. Okay, that should do us. And a little pep, salt. While our pasta water is coming up to a boil and our onions and our peas are frying over there, we are going to start putting together our baked sweet potato and black bean burrito bowls because I do need to roast up some sweet potatoes for this recipe. I do already have the black beans over in the Instapot over there. I put those on this morning so they're ready to go when we need them. We need 2 large sweet potatoes for this recipe and I just have some smaller ones here, so I'm going to use 4 instead. And I'm just going to give these a peel here. It's not necessary. You can eat the skins of sweet potatoes if you like. So you're looking for around that size of pieces. I'm going to roast these in the oven at 400 degrees, just coating them with a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt, and that's it. When you're doing recipes where there's some chopping involved, consider doing a little bit of extra. So in the case of the sweet potatoes, you could chop up some extra ones, roast them in the oven, and then throw them in your freezer, and then you can throw them in a breakfast hash or throw them in a soup or a stew or something like that, and it just saves you time in the future. And since you're already at it, chopping, peeling, all that kind of stuff, you may as well do a few extra. The same goes with the beans. If you're going to be cooking up some beans, you might as well cook a little extra, put them into some Ziploc bags and pop those in the freezer as well. All of these recipes, like most of the recipes that I share here on my channel, are super customizable. You could use a different type of bean in this. You could use white beans if you preferred. The only beans I wouldn't recommend using are kidney beans, just because they're a little bit big to be eating in this particular recipe. But you could use any other kind of bean you wanted. You could use some roasted squash, some roasted carrots, any other kind of vegetable that roasts up nicely for this recipe as well. So it really is super adaptable to your taste preferences. I personally love sweet potatoes, so I use them whenever I can because I think they're absolutely delicious, and they are a really good complex carbohydrate as well. So we're just going to do a little bit of tidying up here while I am waiting for the pasta to finish. I put on some lentils for the lentil patties that we're going to make, and as you can see, I had a little bit of a explosion because I wasn't paying attention and I had the temperature up too high. But this is 1 cup of lentils boiled in 3 cups of water. So those are just about done, and now our pasta is done over here, and we're going to reserve a 1/2 cup of our pasta water here. We're going to bring this back onto the heat, just on low. So this is only supposed to be 8 ounces of pasta, and this is a bit more than that. 1.5 cups of Parmesan. I'm going to turn off our stove with our sweet potatoes in there. We're going to add a 1/2 cup of cream. Now I'm going to add a 1.5 cups just because I have the extra pasta. Our 1/2 cup of pasta water. So we're just going to let this thicken up, which it already is. And easy as that. Second recipe done. And our lentils are now done here. Now we're going to make our herbed lentil patties. I'm going to double this recipe. So we're going to do 2 cups of lentils and a little bit extra since I have it in here. We're going to add a cup of cooked rice to this. You could also use breadcrumbs if that's what you had. Going to add a pinch of thyme. So we're going to add a little bit of this shallot pepper seasoning. This was sent to me by a subscriber, and it's absolutely delicious, super good. And it has, let me see here, it has salt, pepper, French tarragon, and powdered bay leaves in it. So we're adding a little bit of that, and then I'm going to add some onion powder as well. You could add some finely chopped onion or grated onion to this if you like. I'm going to add a fair bit of onion powder, pepper, and salt. Around a teaspoon, I guess that's about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're going to add 2 eggs. And get our hands in there and mix this. Whew, that's hot. Never mind. We're not going to get our hands in there. We're going to stir it with a spoon instead. I think I am going to add some breadcrumbs into this as well, because it needs something to hold it together a little bit, because I added a little bit too much liquid in with the lentils into this. I have a bun here that is a little bit stale. Stale enough to grate here with my cheese grater. So I'm going to add, I think, around 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs to this. There, that should help to soak up some of that liquid. Yes, perfect. third fry pan of the day. Oh, I need to fill my sprayer here. This is the Olivia olive oil sprayer that I absolutely adore. I don't know how I went for so long without having one, because I've only had this for probably 6 months. And I don't know how I lived without it. Fair bit of olive oil on our pan. Now we're going to heat it up and fry up our patties. Whoops. Okay, we're going to fry these until they're golden brown. We're going to make a very simple yogurt sauce here. And if you wanted to keep this totally without animal products, you could do it with coconut yogurt. Do 1 cup of yogurt. And I am going to be saving some of this yogurt so I can start making yogurt again. We have a cow that recently freshened. That means she just had a calf. So we are going to be back into making our own homemade yogurt again, which is fantastic. We still have a cow in milk right now, but she's at the end of her lactation cycle, so we're not getting a ton of it. And I can just make yogurt using this as a starter with my own raw milk. So we have this. We're going to add some lemon juice, a pinch of salt, a little bit of pepper, which you can omit if you like. You could add a little bit of dill to this, a little bit of grated garlic. I'm going to do 2 small cloves of grated garlic. These lentil patties kind of have a falafel vibe. If you like falafels, you will like these. And you can eat these just plain with this dip and a little bit of rice, or you could have them in tortillas or in some pitas. I think I'm probably going to make some homemade tortillas for these. So super simple sauce that we'll just set aside so that garlic, the flavor of the garlic can infuse into the sauce. We have our sweet potatoes ready. So we have our 2 cups of black beans here. We're going to add a little salt, some paprika, a little garlic powder, a little taco seasoning. So I am actually going to assemble this as one large bowl here rather than in small single serving size bowls. So I'm going to put some rice on the bottom. We're going to put the black beans next. And then our sweet potatoes next. I'm going to grate some cheddar cheese. And that's going to go on the top. Meal 3, done. I have made the decision after frying up those lentil patties to make some quick tortillas. I was considering making pitas, but they have rising time, and these tortillas are quite fluffy, so I think that they are going to be just fine. So we're going to add 3 cups of flour. This is the recipe from Half Baked Harvest. It is fantastic. I love it so much. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. One and a half teaspoons of salt. 5 tablespoons of butter at room temperature. You can use coconut oil if you like. Just break that butter up a little bit, and then we're going to add a cup of hot water, which we have right here, and mix this all together until we have a dough. Now we are going to knead our dough just for a couple minutes. not too long. So we're going to let this rest for 10 minutes, and then we're going to use my new tortilla press, which I absolutely love. I ordered this tortilla press, which is fantastic. It is cast iron, super heavy duty. It's going to last me and probably my children forever. And I got the larger one so that I could make larger tortillas. These are intended for corn tortillas. Types of tortillas that don't have gluten in them, because when you're using this for gluten, I'll show you in a minute, they kind of bounce back a little bit because of the gluten in them. But I have found that using this tortilla press with my flour tortillas makes the whole tortilla making process so much faster, because this gets them into a nice round shape and flattened most of the way, and then I just need to use my rolling pin for just a couple of swipes on it to get it to the size that I want. So I actually really enjoy using these for flour tortillas as well. A little parchment paper on here. This actually came with, I think, 100 parchment papers like this. And it's not entirely necessary because it actually doesn't stick to this that much, but this does make it a little bit cleaner. This is going to make 10 good sized tortillas here. So all I do with my dough, form it into a circle, into the press, another piece of parchment paper on top, and like so. So you can see it's shrinking up because of the gluten, which is no big deal. Just take it off. You can see it's mostly formed already. And then the rolling pin on a counter that is not floured, I would recommend. Roll it out. It takes 2 seconds. I really love doing that. So I'm just going to fry these on medium heat until they are nice and golden and delicious. I'm excited right now because Dan is actually out picking up an outhouse that we just bought. And I know that might sound like an odd thing to be excited about, but we have been wanting to put an outhouse up by our cabin since we put the cabin up a year and a half ago now. And we found one on Facebook Marketplace, and it was going to be the same price for us to buy the materials and build it ourselves, but then of course take the time it would take to build one. So Dan is actually out picking that up right now. If he gets back before we end today's time together, I will show it to you, but if not, I'll show you in the next video. But I'm very excited about that. We actually have some house guests staying up in our cabin right now, and we just have our travel trailer parked up next to it so that they can use the bathroom in there, but it'll be nice to actually have the outhouse set up, and it's a really cute little outhouse too. I'll make sure I link this for you down in the, I'll make sure I link this in my Amazon store for you, because I did get it on Amazon and it was actually, I think it was $100 or something, but for a piece of kitchen equipment that I'm going to use probably weekly, combined with the fact that it's going to last forever being cast iron like it is, I feel like that was a really good price. And I do have my Amazon store. I think it's amazon.com, but I do have it under .ca as well. So if you go in there and you're from Canada, even though it says .com, you can go into .ca and it will still connect to my Amazon store. I get questions about that all the time. So I have both, but it doesn't make sense really to put both links since they both take you to the same place. So you can see I made these a little bit thicker and softer, so they're a bit more like a pita than a tortilla. Here we are with all of our finished meals. So over here we have our creamy pasta with our peas and our onions and our garlic and our cream. And then here we have our curry, our chickpea curry. We have our lentil patties here with our garlic dressing and our tortillas, which just look delicious. I cannot wait to try those three all together. And then here we have our rice, our black bean, and our sweet potato bowl. And it all looks delicious. I do have some fresh cilantro chopped up over here that we are going to use on top of this, along with a little bit of sour cream. And I actually think that this would probably be really good in a wrap as well, so I might try it that way. All right, let's go down the line and try each of these dishes. That one, for sure, a kid favorite. If you have children, definitely try that. It's very Alfredo tasting with all of that Parmesan, and it only took me probably 10 minutes to put that together outside of the cooking of the pasta. So really, really good. And this one is going to be served over rice. So I do have some rice over here left over from the other recipes. So we'll take a little bit of rice, a little bit of our curry. There we go. That's good too. If you like curry, you will love that. Super easy. I love the flavor of the coconut milk in that one. Very, very good. Okay, now let's try one of these. So I'm going to take the patty and break it in half. I'll just put it along like so. Add a little bit of our sauce to the top here. And I'm also going to add a little bit of cilantro, but if you don't like cilantro, you can omit that. Looks pretty good. That is delicious. And super inexpensive. Lots of protein with those lentils. Lentils are probably the cheapest protein that you can purchase at the grocery store. And these wraps only had 3 cups of flour, a bit of salt, some water, a bit of butter. You could use coconut oil if I didn't mention that before in place of the butter. Excuse me. So overall, really inexpensive, super filling, and totally delicious. So last up, I'm going to just put a little bit of this in a bowl. And then we're going to add a little bit of sour cream. And you know, I actually think that this garlic yogurt would be really good on here too. So I'm going to add a little bit of that and a little pinch of our cilantro on there. Now let's give this a try. Oh my gosh, that is so delicious. The sweet potatoes adds a sweetness, I guess, to this that's really, really good. I actually think, where's my lemon? That a little squeeze of lemon on the top of this too would also be really good. Yum. And no doubt about this, this would be delicious in a tortilla as well. These are all recipes that I make all the time, or different variations on these themes. The only thing that I hadn't tried before was sweet potatoes in with black beans like that. And that is definitely something I'm going to do again because it is so delicious. All right, friends, that's going to be it for me today. I'm going to have to wait and show you the outhouse in the next video since Dan isn't home. And I'll also show you some of the new babies that have been born on our farm over the last couple of days in that video as well. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye, everyone.